I wanted to offer my thanks to Kristen Grandinetti from our City Council for coming out here today. The city has been a partner in this. Yes, you can applaud, Kristen. But the city's been a partner in this for a long time. We're not yet a funder, which is why I want to give a shout out to the City Council, because I think there's an ask, a relatively small ask compared to the service that's being delivered for 2017 that I'm going to try to champion through the City Council. I also want to recognize, we have a number of our staff here, but I want to recognize in particular Tom DeSantis, our senior planner, now our acting director of economic development in the city of Niagara Falls, and tell a little bit of history about the National Heritage Area. Ironic, since the Heritage Area itself, of course, is designed to help celebrate our history. Tom, I think the weather was about the same as it is today. I think it was, in fact, the month of May in the year 2000. So I think Senator Ort said the project was in the works for 10 years. The Heritage Area was in the works 16 years ago. At that time already, people, were looking at the national park system, and they were saying, the National Park Service, they have a certain experience, sensibility, certain panache we would like to bring to our region. Probably we thought, if you ask most of the members of Congress, Congressman Higgins, maybe you can verify this, half of them we figured would have thought Niagara Falls was a national park already, right? And so we were looking for a mechanism to bring the National Park Service and all that it offered here into our region, right? But there was a political problem, right? Why? Well, New York State is very proud of the park at Niagara Falls. It's the oldest state park in the country, founded in 1885. And New York State Parks had a lot of heritage, had a lot of experience as an operator, had a huge amount of pride in operating the park at Niagara Falls. So we had to try to find a way of making those gears mesh together. So I remember on that May day, there were 4 of us, and we were traveling up and down the corridor and stopping at the various spots, many of the spots that the shuttle's going to stop. There was me, there was Tom DeSantis, there was our then Congressman John LaFalce, and the 4th person in the car was Secretary of the Interior Bruce Babbitt, right? Secretary of the Interior in the Clinton administration, right? The first Clinton administration. There's double meaning there. So of course we had Secretary of the Interior Babbitt around because what we were planning is how we were going to work closely with the National Parks Service during the Al Gore administration to bring federal resources to Niagara Falls, right? Well, as it turns out, George W. Bush ended up signing the legislation that created the Niagara Falls National Heritage Area, but we got the job done, right? Working across party lines, we didn't let that stop us. The tale of the shuttle in particular, I think is an important one, not just for what it teaches us about our recent history, but about the path forward. This is one of those things that several speakers have alluded to, that everyone who lives in Niagara Falls, everyone who visits here, just looks around and says, well, where's the tourist shuttle? Places like Niagara Falls have tourist shuttles. Look across the river, they've got a tourist shuttle, right? You go to national parks, you go to, Zion. I visited Zion. I visited the Grand Canyon last April and used the shuttle system there. And you're riding this thing and you're going, my gosh, I'm so glad we're working on something like this, because if I were a visitor coming to Niagara Falls and I just been to those other national parks, I would expect the same sort of amenities in a world-famous destination like Niagara Falls as I would find, other places, in particular, in the United States of America. But so why couldn't we get it done? Why did it take so long for something like this to happen? Right? Well, I would argue that it's because we're so trapped in many ways in our own parochial way of thinking, right? This project required cooperation from the falls to the fort. Natural geography, the good Lord made these places to work together, right? They certainly work together in an ecological sense, and yet politically we're having difficulty getting it together, right? City people tend to have a different perspective on things from suburban people and from rural people, right? You got Democrats in the city and Republicans in the outlying areas, and they sometimes don't get along, right? And then you've got businesses, and you remember the famous quote from Mark Twain, I'm paraphrasing, in 1869 he came here, he said, there's no people in the world that are more adept at separating a tourist from their wallet than the people of Niagara Falls, right? So there was this feeling in Niagara Falls, and I think maybe some of these other areas, that if somebody spent $1, an attraction in Lewiston, that was a dollar somehow lost to the economy of Niagara Falls. But that's not the case, right? We work best when we work together as a region. And I think that this fantastic project, so long anticipated, having overcome so many obstacles on its way to fruition, then becomes a guidepost to us as we move forward. You know, as you heard from several other speakers, you know, I'll adopt the Congressman's timetable. The next 36 months are going to be a fantastic ride here in the Buffalo-Niagara region, because all of us who have been working on this stuff know all the stuff that's still in the pipeline and still to come. And we're building upon what is now an absolutely fantastic foundation in something that we all have believed, from the Falls to the Fort, should be one of the great tourist regions in the world. Now I think we're finally on the verge of making that ambition a reality.